everyone. My name is Gemma Taylor-Smith. I am a committee member of the East Midlands PM Forum. Obviously, we're in unusual circumstances at the moment, and it's great that so many of you have registered to join this session today. So thanks for that. We hope you're all surviving and juggling, working from home, homeschooling, and everything else that's kind of being thrown at us at the moment. We appreciate you logging in to listen to this today, and hopefully it's quite topical at the moment. Social media is particularly important at this time in terms of communicating with your audiences, so hopefully you'll find this really useful and really topical at the moment. I'm going to hand over now to Sam from Gather Social, who is going to go through a great presentation. We've had a bit of a sneak peek, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. So without further ado, I'll hand you over. So Sam, if you want to take the reins, that's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello everybody. This is my first ever webinar. I'm a much more of an in-person type speaker. So here goes. I hope you enjoy. So a little bit about myself. I'm the managing director and founder of Gather Social. We're based in Nottingham, and we really specialise in B2B and professional services, social media. We do B2C, but we're really strongly focused in the B2B environment. And the reason for that is nobody does it. There's so many professional services companies that just don't give it the right kudos and the right focus in their business, that it's actually not as competitive in that entire space when you look at it from a year's performance versus what you've spent on it. So the business itself, it was started by me. I hated my job, so I decided that I was going to try and use my 2 degrees, economics and sociology and digital and new media communications, to start a business. And we're really at the front end of social media. So we have our own software platform, which delivers about 750,000 posts for our clients a month, which has been designed and built by myself and 3 developers. And we have a complete creative team offering everything from graphic design, copywriting, blogging, content as a whole. And throughout this presentation, I'll hope to show you how those tools and those skills can be used to drive traffic and, more importantly, revenue into professional services businesses. And this whole presentation is based around the data that we've got from a year-to-year report at Hopkins Solicitors. So I hope you find this useful, and I hope you find the content of real value. So, what 2 things are holding you back from crushing it on social media? I'd like everybody to think, if they can think of what 2 things there are. They might be different things to the ones that I'm going to show you, but generally speaking, these are the 2 things that are preventing everybody from actually crushing it on social media. Content fear. Okay, so the fear of what to post. Okay, what to post. What should I be posting? Should I be posting cats and dogs? Should I be posting funny GIFs and memes? Should I be posting blogs? Should I be doing video? Content fear, that is the thing that will be holding a lot of you back from having a successful social media strategy. And the other thing is myths. So everybody's an expert in social media because everybody's got an account. So therefore, they know best. Quite often you'll find when we're working with businesses, the youngest person in the office is in charge of the social media, or is in charge of the right times that they are posting. Most of these, or all of these, are just myths, and I'm gonna dispel a few myths for you now. So you can start with nothing and deliver results over a 12-month period with a focused strategy. And this is a testimonial from the marketing manager at Hopkins Solicitors, which just goes to show that what you'll look at throughout this webinar is something that literally started from scratch through to increasing turnover. So if you go to Google and you type into Google what time should I post on social media? There are 6 billion results. So that means there are 6 billion difference of opinion, or there is 6 billion articles from which you could read to sift through to work out when the best time is for you to post on social media. If you apply this logic and you go to the Silicon Valley big hitters and you look at what time the experts say that you should post on social media. So you can see here, we've got a range of different ginormous organizations, all experts in when you should be posting on social media. And you'll see that the common theme is nobody agrees. Nobody agrees. My personal favorite in this one is anytime off peak. I mean, literally, it means anything, post anytime. So at Go Social, we have a slightly different mentality around when the best time to post is on social media. We believe that the best time to post is when someone is always online. So let me give this some context. If you are looking to target, let's say, people that are getting divorced, or people that need a will or legal services, and you wanting to put some content out. If you read a blog that says the best time to post is Wednesday at 9 o'clock because there are 1,000 people online, these 1,000 people online, they could be all teenagers, but you could post at Wednesday at 9 o'clock at night, and there is one person online who is going through a divorce, or he's thinking about getting divorced. Therefore, the best time to post divorce-related content or family law-related content is actually when there is somebody online that is relevant to your products and services, not when a blog tells you that the largest audience is online. So you really need to think about the timings of when you're posting online differently. You need to think about it as, is there going to be somebody online at this time that could be interested in this content? And the answer to that is yes. With this logic and thinking like this, what this will actually do for your social media strategy is completely remove the pain of when you think that you should be posting and allow you to use a system to just automate content going out at different times of the day and trying different time slots for the content on different days so that you can actually understand over a period of time when the best time for your business to post is. So when I do this presentation in person, I always show a digital transformation video, and I'm going to show you this to you now, just so that you can see how much this landscape has changed. And if you want to go back and you find this video, you can actually see the video that they made for the last year, the year before, and the year before that, and you can see how much the metrics have changed. So let me just share this video with you now. So I hope you all found that video interesting to watch. Like I said, if you go back and look at some of the versions that were made in previous years, it gives
Once
you...
upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are.
Sorry, it was just playing the next video. So if you go back and look at the videos that they made 2, 3, 4 years ago that were showing the digital transformation, you can really see how much it's evolved. And it's really important now more than ever to be thinking about your content strategy, be thinking about the messages that you're putting out on the channels that you're actually putting them out and the reasons for that and how they may help you with your organic search position within Google, direct traffic acquisition, as well as your brand presence overall within your sector. So as we move through the presentation, that's a bit of myth busting, mainly around the best times to post, and just to give you some sort of concept around how much it's transformed. So what I'd like you to do all now is think about what imagery you've seen today, and if you can remember that imagery. And this will help you with your content fear. And what I mean by that is quite straightforward. We see, on average, as a person, between 5,000 and 10,000 images per day. Now, these might be on your phone, on the TV, on a bus, in a magazine, or on a billboard. But we see between 5,000 to 10,000 of them per day. Now, what this means for you as a marketeer, it means that it's highly unlikely anyone's going to remember your bad goes. It's highly unlikely anyone's going to remember your average content. Quite simply, because they just will not see it in their feed. It's not that it's not of interest, or it's not that it's not relevant, it's just the way that it has been designed and the way that it's been laid out just isn't to that person's design taste. So when you're making content, it's really important to just focus on the piece of content that you're making and try to make it so that there is some purpose with that in mind. And what I mean by that is your audience will be split in by gender. So there'll be men and there'll be women. Within that gender, there'll be different age brackets. So let's say, for instance, your business targets women and men aged 25 to 50. So you're going to make a creative piece of content to target a man aged 50 and a woman aged 25. Now, they have very different tastes in their creative. And if you're making one piece of content to try and get both of those audiences, you aren't going to achieve that objective. You'll just end up somewhere in the middle, which is something that is a bit beige, really. So what you need to do is you need to think about, here's a piece of content that I've got. What is the age portfolio and the gender portfolio of the audience that we're trying to educate them? And take the piece of content, and this could be, let's say, a blog post, and you make the blog post, and then you design for each of your age and gender demographics accordingly. So you'd make something that was for women aged 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, etc., and the same for men. So ultimately, what you would end up with would be one post with 8 to 10 different creatives looking at targeting different age demographics to share that piece of content more regularly. And what this will do, it will give you a far greater opportunity when you're in news feeds to actually stop people in their news feeds and notice your content, because your creative vision is to focus on the demographics in certain age groups and gender groups and allow your designs to be more fluid to that category. So content. So we classify everything as content. And what I mean by that is your website is content. Now, there'll be people on this webinar that will have been involved in the creative vision of the website, and they will have agonized over the words going onto that website and agonized over the pages. If you don't know what to share, or you don't have anything to share, what you need to do is go to your website and essentially reverse engineer it. So this is quite simply opening a document and copying and pasting all the text onto the document, reading through it, and making it into appropriate text posts. So you take all the text off your website and you make it into snappy posts. and you point that text back to that part of your website. Now, once you've done this, you'll be able to make designs for your creative designs to piece to those specific statements or facts or bits of information off of your website. Don't be afraid to do this to the About Us page, the home page, what services, what products you offer, but that will be your start point. Now, when you've completed this, you'll end up with a marketing archive. Now, when we do this for a business here at Gather Social, we tend to end up with anywhere between 500 and 1,000 posts that we've just pulled off the website and made into marketing content for the business. Now, what this gives us the opportunity to do, and if you do this exercise, what you'll be able to do, you'll have a library of content which you can then be posting from, and you can start to see which designs are working the best, whether it's short text, long text, medium length text, it might be orange, it might be blue. You'll get an idea by posting that content, what the creative taste of your audience is and what your top performing content is and looks like. You want to follow formulas. So being successful on social media is very linear. It's not doing it by the seat of your pants. It's not thinking we need to post something today we haven't posted in a while. It's by being linear. So you need to follow the content pyramid. So the content pyramid is very straightforward. We have pillar content, which sits at the top. So this is your website, videos, interviews, blogs. It's stuff that takes a slightly longer period of time to consume. It might be 2 or 3 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, it might be 40 minutes. And your website is pillar content because it takes time to consume. So you need to understand what your pillar content is, where it is, and where it's pointing at. Then from this pillar content, you make micro content. So for example, you might write a blog, and you might take the 5 or 6 subheadings within that blog and make that into 6 posts about that blog and point all of those micro pieces of content at the blog. So as opposed to having one blog post, you could have 6, 7, 8, even 20 blog posts, micro pieces of content pointing at the same blog post. If you're working in video and you're already advanced down that line, if you've got a video that is 20 minutes in length, it's highly unlikely someone going through their social media feed will look at the video and go, I'm going to dedicate 20 minutes to watching that video. If you get that video hashed up into 20 1-minute videos, the consumption rate is much higher and a much higher click-through rate to watch the full-length video, and that's what micro content is. Now, really importantly, if you go from pillar content to micro content, what you end up with at the bottom is a lot more content than just the one blog post, the one video, and you can distribute that across all of your social channels to have far greater impact with it being a much more digestible amount of information, and either drive that through to where the pillar content is stored, which could be YouTube, for example, and you can also drive it through to your website, which in this instance will be the most important thing. And what pillar content will allow you to do, especially if you're thinking about videos, it will give you a lot more content to move through to Facebook ads. So if you're doing videos, you would be able to run 1-minute video ads across the entire platform, including Instagram, as well as with your blog posts, you would be able to understand which Facebook creative got the biggest reach and the biggest click-through rate to your new news or your blog post. So that, following that pyramid, ultimately leads you to have a lot of content to distribute. So how much content do you need? So there is no real answer to this question. You need a lot is the answer to the question. And when you start, you need to put the effort in to make as much content as possible. But it does follow a very similar formula. The number one mistake that we see at Gather Social is people do not document their content. They miss the documenting phase out and they go straight to create. Now, the documenting phase is really important. This is where you just focus on actually either collecting the content together, collecting the photographs together. It might be that you have an event, and that means photographing and filming the event properly and documenting it, as opposed to trying to create something to use there and then. No one's ever going to say that You posted something from an event that was on the day that the event wasn't actually taking place. So the idea of documenting, it gives you the opportunity to make an archive of content that when you're in a creative day, that you can go into and start piecing that content together and making either your pillar content or repurposing into micro content. Once you've done document and you've done create and you're happy with the 100, 200 posts that you may have made, you then need to go into distribution. And what that means is, that means plugging into a system, a content management system like the one that we have here at Gather Social. It might be mass uploading to Buffer or Hootsuite and distributing that content to all available channels. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, audience network. Now the piece after this, which is really important, which is the listen. So you have to set yourself, if you have 2 months worth of content, run it for 2 months, and then go back at the end of the 2 months and listen to it. And what I mean by listening is understand the data. So you want to be able to look to see which posts got the biggest reach, which creative designs got the most engagement, which creative designs drove the most traffic to the website. And what you want to do is take your top 10% and keep that and delete the bottom 90% and focus what you're doing on this top 10%. You know that this has worked and you know that this has generated traffic, engagement, brand awareness. And that's what that data is telling you, that those designs, that creativity, that tone of voice is what your audience is telling you that you should be doing. The next bit is go back to creation. So take that information, take those designs and make more of it, make more variations of that design, use the color more, use the tone of voice more, come up with more blogs in that style, maybe do more videos in that style, and then reload that into distribute and then repeat the whole process again. And this create, distribute, listen, create, distribute, listen, create, distribute, listen. This is what you have to do every quarter to keep your content refreshed and to keep your eye and your finger on the pulse of where the creative direction of your audience wants you to go. So we're going to look at what can be achieved. So Hopkins Litters we took from a standing start. I don't think it had, I mean, there was next to nothing happening on the accounts. There was no cohesion. There was no strategy in place. So what can be achieved? So we look at the top line business results here. So we had the 12-month review. We already had a lot of the data ourselves anyway, but across the course of the last 12 months, we've managed to increase website traffic from all parts of the internet. So organic search, direct, referral, social media. We managed to increase the website traffic to the site by 35% in 12 months. Now, because of the focused nature of who we were marketing to and the fact that we were marketing the actual services and the products, they saw a 51% increase in website inquiries. There was a 67% increase in website calls, and there was a 43% increase in revenue. The revenue was actually up from 3.9 to 5.7 annually, and this was based a lot and primarily down to the digital strategy that was taking place. So there are lots of metrics to consider when you're thinking about your social media strategy. So this is using a third-party reporting tool that reads straight from the Facebook API. And this is giving me an overview of the entire campaign that we've ran for Hopkins Litters since the moment that we started. So you can see there that everything is green, obviously, as you would expect it to be. But this campaign was run on a very tight budget. So the things that I would like to point out that are really important in this in these are the post reach. So 1.2 million people across the 12 months saw a post via Hopkins Litters on the Facebook platform. So that was Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and the messengers and the messenger apps that are owned by them. And the post impressions was nearly double. Now, if you think about that, that's a lot of people in the direct vicinity of their officers that saw their posts. So on a brand awareness perspective, that pretty much everybody in their target area had come into contact with a Hopkins post. You'll see there that obviously reactions, engagements, page and post engagements, they're all really, they've all in massive growth. Those things are important. They're really important when you're looking at what data you're collecting for remarketing and identifying audience purposes. However, you're generally measured by like tangible results, and the way to get tangible results in the professional services sector is to focus on the website traffic. All the other metrics will follow, will grow if you get the website traffic acquisition part of your strategy correct first. So you can see there that there was a 7,397% increase in website traffic, with 8,246 visits to the site. And the average performance down there is below. But the point to realize here is, if you focus on driving traffic to the website, your engaged users, your page and post, your reach, these metrics, which lots of people focus all of their energy trying to do those, will actually naturally go up if you focus on getting the website traffic first. And my biggest tip would be focus on acquisition and then come back to engagements at a later stage. So we have run many different advert campaigns across the Facebook family, and this is a screenshot from Facebook adverts, and you can see here that we've currently got 7 live campaigns with 10 campaigns that are a bit more seasonal, and you can see there that they all have different variations of results. But you need to focus on actually driving the traffic. And you can see here, we have nothing in place for Hopkins at all that is based on an engagement strategy. Everything in this instance is based on link clicks and landing page views. And you can see here at the bottom that the reach from the adverts alone was nearly 300,000 people from the adverts alone. So one of the things that professional services do badly is they overcomplicate and overthink the creative. You need to think that social media users aren't stupid, and the worst thing to do is to trick somebody onto your website via creative that isn't actually focusing on the product. Why that's bad is it means that the data that you're collecting on the site isn't based on the person's requirement for the product, it's based on the content entertaining them. And what you'll actually find is, if you do that, your bounce rate from social media will be phenomenal, and all the data that you'll be collecting will be irrelevant. For example, if you posted a cat falling down the stairs with a link back to your website, the person clicking on that link is going to be more likely interested in cats than they are on professional services. So just to prove that to you, I'm going to show you a range of the top performing creative through the ads campaign that's been running for Hopkins Sisters. So you can see here, very simple, very transparent. What you're asking the person to do is to click somewhere and visit something that they are interested in by not confusing them with the creative. What this also does, it is presenting the right brand awareness. What you're actually doing is you're positioning the products and the services that you will provide to the right audience with the right creative. For what I would like to also point out here is you can see that these are the top performing. You can see how they vary in the image in the background and the colours. So we have stuff that is of a white background, we have stuff that's a faded background. Blue is a very common theme in this for this business of success in terms of the creative. And we've found this out over the course of a year, and we have a pretty good understanding of what actually works in terms of they need to promote a service really quickly and generate qualified traffic. We have a very good understanding of what the creative vision of that might look like. So, moving on to Google. What you need to understand with your social media and understanding Google is you have to be able to understand how to piece it all together. Now, Google and the social media companies, they aren't best friends, which makes reporting kind of difficult. And the reason it's difficult is because nobody can actually say categorically where something has come from. So there is something that you may or may not be familiar with, which is called dark social. And this is how Google Analytics can get confused by social media. So for example, I might see a post on Facebook, and I might WhatsApp that to my brother, that might send that to his wife on an email, who might write it on a piece of paper and give it to her colleague and say, log on to that website, it's really interesting. Now, what Google will do is Google will register that as a direct visit to that website, even though it originated from social media. So you need to be understanding these human patterns to be able to understand fully how you're impacting Google. So let's take a look at some Google Analytics. So the data geeks of you here, this is perfect for you. This is really what excites me. So this shows the website traffic acquisition overview for the entire time that we picked up this account. So you can see there that it is lots of greens, okay? The only ones that it's email and referral. So despite no investment, their organic search increased by 15.74%. Now, why did this happen? This happened because their posts were going out on all the social media channels, and they were educating through brand awareness their audience. Now, they didn't necessarily click on those ads or on those pieces of content, but the business was in their mindset. And what that ultimately ended up them doing was, instead of Googling the service, so they didn't Google wills or the family law, they Googled the business by name and found them through organic search by name of the business, which caused a spike over that period of 15% in their, 16% nearly in their organic search. Now, the one underneath that, direct, up nearly 38%. Now, I just explained the process of dark social to you. This traffic increased to their website for a number of reasons, dark social being one. Sometimes when you're on your mobile phone, you see a link, you click it, your phone is set up to open that in a separate browser, which Google records as an increase in direct traffic. In reality, there's absolutely no explanation as why the direct traffic should increase quite as much as it has done. But when you dig into the links, you can actually see this happening. Social, I have a slide on in a moment, and other, I have another slide on in a minute. But with your social media strategy, you really need to be thinking about what is the overall impact we're going to have with our Google Analytics and the traffic going to our website. So can I improve our organic search results? Yes. Can I improve our direct traffic acquisition? Yes. Can I improve the social media traffic? Yes. If I focus on the social media traffic, here is proof that organic search and direct and other can be increased as well. So social media traffic improvements. So you can see here a 307% increase in traffic from social media. So Facebook leading the way, and leading the way on new users. I mean, predominantly every single user from Facebook is a new user. 100% new users from Instagram stories, which you may be surprised to see that there, outperforming Twitter and LinkedIn. But Instagram stories is really starting to take a foothold, and it's something that we as a business are focusing on every day for our clients, because we can see this medium of communication increasing in its data transfer. Twitter and LinkedIn. Now, the direct traffic. So there was a 48% increase in traffic visiting their homepage. There is no real other explanation for such a large increase in this, other than the web URL was stored in the browser, in the URL already, and they typed it in and it directed them straight to the site, or it was sent via a message and they clicked on a link which was a direct link to their homepage. And really interestingly, with this Google Analytics, we had an other traffic improvements area set up in Google Analytics, and this just shows you that there was nearly 3,000 visits on the site over this time period via Google, which is just showing you that they were actually looking for the company in Google. So there's a really great set of analytics for you to understand and see the improvements that you can make from a very focused social media strategy, but one that is focused primarily on actually marketing the product that you're offering, as opposed to just trying to have a social presence. So we had Tammy, the marketing manager at Hopkins, just to give this some validation. This is the review that she wrote about us after a really successful year of working with us. So that's the testimonial that she left us. And what I would like to make available to everybody on the call today, we've been, if you go to our Facebook page, you can see some of the reviews that we've had from workshops that we've been running. Obviously, you know, who knows when we can have a workshop again, but feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to set up a video call where we can give you some personalised advice. We can maybe help set some stuff up, look at some things, give you some direction, give you some advice based on the content that you've currently got, the structure of your website. So if anybody would like to take us up on that offer, please just get in touch with me, either on LinkedIn or via the Gather Social website. You can always email me or WhatsApp me as well. But that is the end of my slides. I tried to make that as concise as possible. My team tell me I have a habit of rabbiting on, so I've tried to make it as concise as possible. I hope that you all got some value, and I think, Gemma, we're going to open the floor to questions if anybody has any.
Yes, that's right. We have actually had one question come in, so I'll read that now, if you're happy to answer, Sam. Can you confirm if this is a paid for or organic social campaign? So I presume that's from the analytics that you were sharing there.
Yeah, fantastic, good question. So this was so everything that we do is both organic and paid for. So the results that you're seeing there are a combination of an organic strategy and a paid for strategy. So what we did first was we amassed some content based on the website, which we ran organically to test in organic distribution. And then the top performing stuff from that organic distribution, we built into Facebook paid ads, and we started to flesh them out slightly based on the creative direction that we thought that it was going, which then sat on the top of the organic strategy. So yeah, this is a hybrid of both organic and paid.
Brilliant, thanks, Sam. A few more coming through. So how do you see the current coronavirus pandemic affecting marketing strategies going forward?
It's a good question. I think that for me personally, my business was very easy to get to work from home. It was literally a case of everybody picking their computers up and saying, "We'll see you soon, be safe." That's because the business has been designed to be able to work from home. But I've been talking to people for a long time now about the interconnected world and how, as humans, we're really not utilising social media and communications effectively. So actually, I think on the other side of this and during this, your social media marketing is going to be more and more prevalent. I've got some information which I can share at some point around smartphone usage, but smartphone usage almost outweighs TV usage by 2 hours a day, and that is only growing. So in terms of the social media arena, what that means is it means that more people are using it, and it's growing, and it means that there is more opportunity to position content because the actual slots are getting exponentially larger. I also think if you think about the fact that there's going to be a prolonged period of time where personal communications are going to be under strict control, we really need to be thinking about how you can personalize your marketing communications directly to your target audience. Something that we've used to great effect at Gather Social is a very succinct strategy for identifying our audience on LinkedIn and having a conversation with them one-to-one and providing them with a link to click on to consume further information. That then transfers that user that you've identified on LinkedIn as a prospect into the Facebook pixel, and then you can control what content that person is then seeing on Facebook, Instagram, and the audience network. Then you can transfer back to LinkedIn after a week of running that content funnel to them and have another conversation with them, which is progressing your sales funnel or your marketing approach. And at Gather Social, we've used that technique to double the turnover of the business twice in the last 2 business years, and it's something that we're supporting businesses involved with it, envelope into their marketing and sales strategy. So more of that. More people are going to be open to digital communications. I mean, I'm the managing director of a social media company, and I probably get 3 LinkedIn messages a month, but I might get 500 unspecified emails trying to sell me something. People need to move themselves from the crowded marketplace to where people are wanting to get attention and are wanting to have those interpersonal communications, which the social media platforms are all geared up for.
Okay, thanks, Sam. There's quite a few more questions coming through, which is great. A couple here about B2B businesses. So can B2B businesses still use Facebook, or should they concentrate on LinkedIn only? And then there's also kind of another question which links quite nicely with that one. Is there any difference in approach with B2B audience?
So great question. So LinkedIn is the world's best address book. And the answer is yes, Facebook ads are extremely important for the B2B space. And here is why. 90% of LinkedIn users have a Facebook account and 57% of them have an Instagram account. So they are there. They probably, the LinkedIn usage rate in terms of the amount of time spent browsing it is very small amount. It's on average between 17 minutes and an hour per month. Now we use Facebook 1,400 minutes a month and Instagram 1,000 minutes a month. Now you need a succinct strategy for Facebook and Instagram because people are spending the time on there. And how you bring the 2 strategies together is you use LinkedIn to identify your audience and you start to generate traffic from LinkedIn to your website. Then you can use you can create rules using the Facebook pixel to identify the traffic coming from LinkedIn on Facebook and Instagram, and you can start to educate them with your brand message on the channels where they spend the longest, and then come back to have a conversation with them on LinkedIn. Now, why that's also important is the Facebook pixel allows us to understand who our users of our website are and what they are interested in. So let's say, for instance, you are targeting accountants, or I'm just making that up, you're targeting accountants. Now, accountants all have a very professional, similar digital footprint to each other because they use websites for information. They've told the internet in some way that they're an accountant. And when you get one accountant passing through from LinkedIn to your website or arriving on your website and you identify them in Facebook, you can then use the lookalikes audience to start to make a clone of your traffic on your website and identify more accountants on Facebook in your market area or your geography and start running your adverts to them. So you're really creating the brand awareness and exposure on Facebook when they're logged in, and then actually having the real valuable communications on LinkedIn. I hope that answers that question.
Thanks, Sam. There's quite a specific question here about how do I find the other traffic improvements in Google Analytics? So I think that's someone asking how they find the information.
It just depends how your Google Analytics is set up. So this specific set of analytics, the web developer put that in I'm assuming by accident. They didn't know that was going to be something that they would look for. The best thing to do is to use specific UTM codes. So you can give all pieces of content a specific UTM code, which will arrive in the sources section of Google Analytics. and will track a specific activity around a specific campaign. I think the best thing to do is, if you're trying to understand that, is to log into Google Analytics and just thumb through what you currently have. So I would expect you to see organic, direct, social, referral, email, and then the other is set up by your Google Analytics person within the business. But yeah, the other thing to do is, if you look in direct, for example, you will see that there are lots of really long links in there. Those long links are social traffic, because no one ever goes to the internet and types in a ginormous link. So yeah, it's kind of individual to the way that each business's Google Analytics have set up. And the person that's asked that specific question, if you want to get in touch with me, I'd be more than happy to have a thumb through yours and just give you some overview of that.
Great, thanks, Sam. Next one, what are your thoughts on paid for LinkedIn campaigns? Sorry,
say that again.
What are your thoughts on paid for LinkedIn campaigns, so LinkedIn advertising?
Good question. The jury's out on the LinkedIn paid for side. It's still very expensive, and the reason why it's expensive is just because the usage rate is so low. What I expect to see happening, and LinkedIn as a platform, is really where the biggest opportunity in terms of your connection base is right now. I expect to see the paid for adverts on LinkedIn platform really come to fruition in the next 5 years, when more of us are spending more time on there, and their platform, which they're frantically working on at the moment, is improved. For example, LinkedIn Stories is supposed to be coming. The video sharing options are not great. As a developer, the one platform that we've really struggled developing into is LinkedIn, because the personal pages are so difficult to develop into. So I expect to see LinkedIn grow really with its offering. The person that's asked that question, if you're thinking about making an investment within LinkedIn, I think the best investment you can make with LinkedIn at the moment is the Sales Nav application for LinkedIn, which allows you to use it as a chronological database for identifying your audience, and then do a very specific campaign to that audience using that tool. Again, if the person's asked that question, I could talk on that subject for an hour. If they want to get in touch with me, I'm more than happy to give them some time and talk them through how to best use LinkedIn in its current state at the moment, if you're thinking about making an investment. And Sales Nav is a much cheaper investment than LinkedIn adverts.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Right, there's quite a long question here, so I'm just going to read it as it's been written. So, when making micro content, do you just link back to the original page? Just considering that creating micro content such as images and GIFs tends to get rid of the link previews on Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn.
Yes, is the answer to the question. Link it back to the page and just share the shortened link. So you don't necessarily need to use the link preview. You're kind of going to override that with a content variation. So yes, you either want to link it back through to the specific page. The most important thing with this is making sure the page that you link it back to has the relevant content on it that matches the post. That's the most important thing to think about.
Okay, thank you. So, hi Sam, in relation to the paid and organic content, do you think focusing only on traffic improvement, only through organic, would achieve good results? Obviously, it won't drive as much traffic, but would it achieve satisfying results on its own?
Depends on yes is the answer to the question, but it really depends on the number of channels that are available to distribute the content to. So I'll give that a bit of context. Say, for example, you just had a Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook page. You would get organic traffic, but it wouldn't be a huge amount. Now, if you had Twitter, Facebook and a LinkedIn page, and then you were using a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite or ourselves, and you were able to connect in the senior management team, the partners, the owners, the sales team, you may end up with an additional 10 or 12 profiles connected to LinkedIn, which the audiences as individuals could be much larger than the three profiles that the business has. Like, for example, if you connected 10 people into the content platform that had 500 people, 500 connections, that's a total audience of 5,000, which would give you a much better traffic acquisition as an organic strategy than it would be just posting to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn on the company profiles, which with some of the businesses online today, they may only have 200 or 300 actual connections. So you could actually use the content strategy to go down the people with the biggest reach on LinkedIn from the business to try and drive the traffic through that way. And that would be the best way to generate organic traffic, unless there was already a large audience in place. I must stress though, with Facebook itself, the way that the platform works is if you build it based on creative preference and that's your aim, what you're actually doing is driving the cost of the acquisition traffic down to the very lowest price you can acquire it for, which actually means you don't need huge budgets to generate lots of traffic from Facebook. You'd be surprised to know that you could probably double, like the Hopkins stuff was done on a very, very, very tight Facebook budget. I think we were operating on £100 a month for the time period that those results were generated by. I'm not going to divulge what the increase in spend has been, but they've made a considerably larger investment in terms of their Facebook ads for the next 12 months. But what I would say, you can run Facebook ads from as little as £1 a day. So with a budget of £365 across the year, you could support your organic strategy with a £400 budget across the year to drive traffic through. And that's what I would advise to do. If you've got tight budgets and you've got an organic traffic strategy, find £1 a day to sit on the top, and the whole thing will work so much better.
Sorry about that, my microphone was muted there for a moment.
Okay.
So a question about GDPR. So how is GDPR affecting your ability to gather data? For example, less reliable data due to the need to only set cookies after opt-in?
It isn't really. Like, if you follow GDPR to the letter, really, like, I mean, as a business, we don't have any personal data at all on any system other than via an email communication. As long as you've got you can go onto the Facebook website and take the right information to put in your GDPR policy around how the Facebook pixel works on your website. The biggest area that it has impacted is you are able to actually upload lists of email addresses and mobile phone numbers into Facebook to do a direct audience match, and that data has to be GDPR compliant. So if a client asks us to do that, 9 times out of 10 we won't do it because they can't actually prove that the person actually gave them permission to use that in that type of marketing. Once you do have permissions though, it's very straightforward. You can have your email and your mobile phone numbers updated. And if someone asks to be removed, you just load it in and it will remove them from the audience. So it is actually very GDPR compliant, the whole thing, because at no time do you ever get access to any personally identifiable data. It just says, you have a website traffic audience of 1,000 people. Would you like to segregate them? So you never actually know person to person who it's going down to. And actually Facebook put some new regulations in not that long ago, which were around postcodes, because you were able to use postcodes to identify people, but then you got very close to being able to identify that person from your data. For example, I live in NG12 in Nottingham. I know for a fact there are no other Samuel Evanses in NG12 in Nottingham. If somebody loaded a list with me contained in it and then said NG12, they would be able to almost identify me personally, but it doesn't allow you to do that. So as long as you've got the pixel policy in your GDPR policy site, you're fine.
Okay, great, thanks. Question here now about the design. So do you have any tips on how to vary guideline and a limited colour palette image library.
Say that again, sorry.
Now, have you got any tips on how to vary post designs whilst working within like limited, like brand guide, like quite strict brand guidelines and a limited colour palette and image library? So how do you work around having those kind of strict guidelines to make sure you're varying your post designs?
Yeah, great question. We work with some ridiculous sets of brand guidelines. I think the largest brand guideline document we've seen this year was 86 pages long. So it can be difficult. The best tip I give is go to a tool like Canva and have a look at the template designs and the template options that they provide and play around with templates. So you would be best off trying to design 10 or 20 templates, pardon me, 10 or 20 templates that were on brand guidelines, and then bring in with your colour palettes, and then bring in the images that you want to use within those 20 templates. So for example, if you had 100 images that were signed off to be used, and you made 10 templates, you could create yourself a library of 1,000 images within those 10 templates that were signed off by brand to have the image in underneath. And that's a good place to start with your creative variation. So what you'd be looking for in that instance is whether it's a large border, a slim border, a colour thing that comes across on the bottom, a border from the bottom, a larger image in the centre. Yeah, that's how we do that.
Great. There's a couple of questions about budgets. So there's two quite similar, so I'll just read one of them. Do you need big budgets to be successful with online advertising? We're told anything under a 5k spend is almost pointless. What is the key to running cost-effective, highly valuable paid social campaigns?
Whoever told that person that asked that question, that's complete nonsense. It's complete nonsense. The marketing industry as a whole, as in like the agency side, is an industry that is based on margins and not actual truths. What you tend to find with marketing agencies is they have somebody that does a specific job in each part of the thing that you need, which pushes the cost up. 5k a month spend is like no, that's our base package is £750, and that includes paid advertising and a whole day's content creation every single month. And we are probably top traffic acquisition for all of our clients. But yes, we have some clients that spend lots of money on Facebook paid ads, but I mean, our biggest client, which turns over 4 billion, they only spend £5,000 a month on paid ads, and they're a large builders merchant. So that advice that person was given was nonsense. That's a common problem with the industry, overcharging. So no, you don't need to have a big budget. Depending on the businesses that are online, I would advise that most probably only need a paid for budget of between £300 and £500 a month to get social media to the very top of their traffic acquisition funnel.
Brilliant. Just one more question now, because we'll need to wrap up at 2. We have a lot of traffic from social, but don't get many likes on Insta or Facebook. What would you suggest to get more likes? And is focusing on likes even important? Should people be focusing on likes, or is that just a waste of time anyway?
It's a really good question. Really good question. So your likes on Facebook. So there's 2 options. You can get the page to increase in likes. So increase the people that are being exposed to your organic content by getting more people to like the page. That is one strategy. And then likes on the post is another strategy altogether. Now, what you don't want to do is try and have a piece of content that's designed to get traffic, likes on the page and likes on the post. It just won't work. One post, one strategy. And with reference to trying to get likes, you need to ask yourself, if you're trying to get likes on the posts, why are you doing that? And the main reason that you should be doing that is because there are 2 types of people. people will see an advert and be happy to click on it and go through to the website and give them your data and the fact that you're interested in that, and others won't, but others are more prepared to like the posts. Now, if you go with an engagement strategy as well as a traffic strategy on Facebook, so you've got a traffic acquisition strategy and an engagement strategy that are independent of each other, this one is focused on generating traffic and this one is focused on generating likes on the posts, and you have them running separately. What will actually happen is the people that like the post will end up in your traffic acquisition funnel, and you'll expand the audience that this one is going to. And that's the only reason really to have it comes down to brand awareness to then show them an ad in remarketing. And we do have quite a number of clients that have both of those strategies live. But what we actually do is we link it directly to the post that's gone through the page. So once the post has gone out organically, it ends up in our ads manager, and then it goes into one of our campaigns that is to generate engagement to actually push more traffic to. We did a campaign for a builder's merchant, the builder merchant recently with this engagement piece, and we actually split their budget. We took the budget out of the traffic, and what we found was that the traffic actually increased by 48% by focusing on getting likes and engagements, which just made the actual traffic ads perform better, because once these people had liked it, it knew that they were more inclined to click on the traffic ad, which caught us all by surprise. We never expected that to be the case. But if you're going to do an engagements piece, you need to put it separately, but be focused on the fact that you ultimately want to drive them to the site at some point.
Okay.
So to answer the question further, if it doesn't cause an increase in website traffic, it could potentially be a vanity thing.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Sam. I think we need to wrap up there, because we are everybody for joining. I'm assuming by the amount of questions we've had that people have found it very interesting. We've had bits of feedback just to say how useful you found it. So thanks very much, Sam. Again, thanks everyone for joining, and hope everyone has a good rest of the day.
Thank you, everybody. If you would all like to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Samuel Evans at Gather Social. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, that would be great. You can contact me on the email address or the phone number on the screen. I'll be able to answer anybody's questions or jump onto a video call with anybody. Let's face it, we're all at home for 3 weeks minimum. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, please do.
Great. And on behalf of PM Forum, thank you very much for your time, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.